It's great to be back here speaking with friends at the Chamber. You are the producers who make it happen all across our state. And I have, as the introduction indicated, I have stood with you in good times and bad, when I was in the minority and when we found ourselves in the majority, and we began leading from the majority to pass absolutely vital measures for our business climate, such as tort reform. It was a multi-year effort, as those of you in the trenches alongside me knew at the time it would be. We had the votes to pass the bill. We did not have the votes to override a Holden veto, but we kept at it until we elected a governor in 2004 who would sign the bill. And the bill was signed in the first 60 days of Matt Blunt's governorship, actually on spring break in the month of March of 2005. Sadly, the judiciary has gone to work like a bunch of termites undermining that tort reform in all its aspects. Year by year, we get it undermined. We are going to have to fight that battle all over again, and in fact, the battle is waging on the floor of the General Assembly last year, this year, and it will continue to be waged until we get a governor who, like Matt Blunt, will simply do what's right and sign the bill. Now, I'm gravely concerned about the state of our state's economy. At least one speaker who will follow me will be a stay-the-course speaker, telling you that the Nixon-Obama economy is doing great and all we need to do is stay that course. I take a radically different view. I'm very gravely concerned that we're falling behind states neighboring us that we were never behind before. And they're moving ahead in significant part because they've taken the bold action to enact labor reform that we need to take. Missouri, in my governorship, will be a right-to-work state in the first 60 or 70 days, just like it was with Matt Blunt on tort reform in 2005. Last Friday, West Virginia became the majority state, the 26th state in the Union, the birthplace of the coal miners' union that dictated the politics of that state for many decades, for most of the last 80 years, is now a right-to-work state, as is the state of Michigan, the birthplace of the trade union movement, which went right to work in 2012, a year and a few months after Indiana did. What happened in those two states? Well, Michigan had been mired in a decade-long recession leading up to that. Indiana had acted the year before. Indiana last year was the #1 state in the nation for manufacturing job growth. Who was #2? Michigan, emerging from that Rust Belt decade-long recession. To get this actually done, you have to have a trusted leader, a trusted conservative leader. And among the things you need to ask of all the candidates is, who can be trusted to actually win elections? To fight battles for you when no one else would? To take on the Obama administration, as I did on Obamacare, to express the overwhelming will of Missourians to oppose Obamacare, and to stand up for the rights of Missourians to direct our own health care choices, when neither the Attorney General of this state nor the governor of this state would align himself with the vast majority of Missourians who, acting in the body politic like an individual body politic, would throw off a virus attacking it. Our body politic wanted to throw off this virus of Obamacare, and they would not act, so I did. I stepped forward, I filed a lawsuit on my own, and undertook the responsibility to raise, since I lack a squad of 200 and something lawyers in my office, my entire staff is 5, I undertook to raise the money privately to pay the 6-figure lawyer bills. I am a fighter from Missouri. I associate myself with every word John Brunner just said about your 2030 plan and agenda. I got the briefing about 2.5 weeks ago. I am curled up with your book on weekends studying it because I want to go to school on every aspect of it. You document in that book, your consultant and your people have documented how we're falling behind. When I was growing up, we were not falling behind Tennessee, Arkansas, Oklahoma, these other states. We have to take awareness that we are now falling behind. You know, the Missouri that my parents were born into in the 1920s had 16 congressional seats. The Missouri I grew up in from the 50s and 60s and 70s had 10 congressional seats and therefore 12 electoral votes. We lost one in 1981. We had 9 seats for 30 years. And in the last census, we lost another one. And we're now at 8 congressional seats and 10 electoral votes. And I fear that on current trajectory, we very likely will lose another one and go to 7 congressional seats after the next census in 2020. That is not the Missouri I want to live in. You need, as the next governor and the nominee for governor, an optimistic, cheerful, confident leader, the kind of candidate who runs a Republican campaign like no other, and by that I mean a candidate who goes into Ferguson and Dellwood, as I did on my announcement, who is surrounded by a multiracially diverse group of supporters, many of whom were bombed out and looted out in the worst failure of executive leadership in the history of this state, and who says, we're all in this together. Let's have a majority in Missouri that says we're open for business again. And while I mentioned Ferguson, I want to mention also the damage to this state's reputation that was compounded in the month of November when this administration brought a Ferguson to the campus of the University of Missouri. And the damage is almost incalculable, and it continues today. And I said to my team, we got to get a statement out. And as the week went on, that was Sunday, November 8th, I said to any audience that would hear me, including Fox News, the following. I was looking for university leadership and a coach that would say there are no strikes on our football team. Scholarship athletes are privileged with a scholarship that means free room and board, free tuition, and the best meals on campus in their dining hall. And in exchange for that, we expect you to suit up and play football. And if you don't, you have jeopardized your scholarship. It would be much better to have paid the $1 million if we had to forfeit the BYU game than to incur the damage to the reputation of our state and our university that has ensued ever since. I will appoint curators who have that vision and who will not shrink from leadership and who will not entertain demands from students or anybody else if they're the governing body that they ought to be. So, you know, why is that worth mentioning in front of this audience? Because any state only has a few assets that market its brand to the rest of the world. I've been involved in trying to change some of that marketing and branding by bringing the largest sporting event ever held to our state, the Tour of Missouri bicycle race, that I'd love to bring back someday. But a big part of our branding is the University of Missouri and our reputation, and it has incurred the worst damage of my lifetime. And we will be years restoring the reputation. And I'm serious about doing that, as I am about right to work, as I am about tax reform. We've got a tax system that I guess was designed in the 1930s, and it's too high. The income tax is too high at 6%. Everyone in this room probably knows high-earning, high-net-worth individuals who've chosen to become Floridians in the last 20 years. No income tax. And that's hurting us when our most productive people leave. Not only is the 6% too high, but it sets in at too low an income. You get your first $9,000, not submitted to the, but above $9,000, it's 6% right now. That's too high. So we've got a lot of work to do. You need a proven winner and a proven leader who can get the job done. I humbly lay my case before you. Thanks.